We're at Richard Hamilton Wines today and we're going to be entering the vineyard a little bit differently. It's going to be tight. Can I get a child size, please?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Ready to rock. Shot, guys. Absolutely awesome, guys. So yeah, jump on down to Adelaide Skydiving and have a little experience. Now I think we need a bit of a tasting.
So, I've forgotten what number wine we're up to. What are we up to? We went, no, we can't call it champagne, can we? Sparkling.
We did the bubbles. We did the bubbles, yeah.
And then, my favourite,
Your Fiano.
And then we've had the
Then we
Grenache.
moved on to a Grenache.
And now, the Cab Sav.
Yes, Hut 11. Yes.
Ooh, Hut 11.
Hut 11.
Ooh.
McLaren Vale actually does
Beautiful.
make some great Cab Sav, doesn't it?
McLaren Vale is produces some terrific Cabernet Sauvignons.
Yeah.
It's just a variety which I guess is influenced by the Mediterranean environment here.
Yeah.
It's got enough coolness to get some varietal character. So Cabernet is a variety that needs to have a bit of coolness at night time to try and bring out the lovely Cassis type of characters.
Don't talk it up too much because we are going to come down to the Coonawarra, remember?
Well,
So
yeah.
we can't really go too
But
crazy.
it's a different style though.
That
originality.
actually-
Thank you very much.
Paws are getting bigger, sorry. But
Thank you.
That's a taste and a half, isn't
yeah,
it?
we've got lots to talk about with
That's
it.
right. Right.
This is beautiful. So essentially, is it growing in the same soil, that sort of stuff, than all the others? Or,
So this is different. Yeah. So our hut block is about a kilometre through this way
On the McMurtry Road?
on McMurtry Road.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
McMurtry.
the McMurtry Mile?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of wines coming from the vineyard. In fact, we've got several wines coming from that vineyard. This particular site, though, is a reasonably sandy site. Now, it's a bit unusual, for growing Cabernet on sandy soil. But this particular block, we call it Hut 11 because it's that's what we call the block, Hut 11. So that's what the block's name is, and just like
So
any
it's
name, that's what's there. So,
Okay.
so Hut 11 is a new release for us. We've had our Hut Block Cabernet, which has been very, very popular over a long period of time.
Okay.
But that's been sourced from separate vineyards, and this is more of an individual vineyard wine.
Okay,
That's a
so not
selection.
from the same lot. So then you bring in
It is a selection from that individual
a
vineyard.
bit of blend. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so this is
The
our
colour's
first
gorgeous.
release. Again, yes.
This is the
Again?
first release?
First release of Hut 11.
Yeah, right.
Ah,
And you mentioned, obviously, it's different in McLaren Vale than to the Coonawarra.
Yes.
Well, what's the difference?
Difference? Well, at this time of year, we're about halfway through our Coonawarra harvest right now.
Yeah.
Whereas we've picked the equivalent this year 3 to 4 weeks ago. So it's a later vintage in Coonawarra. It's a bit cooler.
Yeah.
And
What's the difference in the wine?
Difference in wines. In McLaren Vale, you probably get a bit more initial fullness on the wine, whereas in Coonawarra there's a little bit more austerity, perhaps, which lends itself for really long-term aging, but some approachability as well. It's a different. It's like anything. It's a sense of place. It's a different characteristic. But this is look. I've done a lot of tastings in McLaren Vale of various wines of Shiraz and Cabernet, and Cabernet is a variety which does show a lot of diversity in the region, where it's you see producers producing it from various parts of the region, and it's one variety which does show a lot of sense of place that I was talking about before. That sense of a characteristic which is probably associated with that particular vineyard site.
Okay.
All right, so colour-wise...
That colour is beautiful. Very deep, very dark.
I've got to do it properly.
You've got to do it against the... yes. Now you've learned that skill.
Yeah, I haven't I? Actually, Jill taught me that skill a while ago. I just forgot. So colour-wise...
Colour-wise it's quite deep. It's got some nice crimson colours to it.
It's very deep, isn't it?
It is. It's dark, deep, and it grips the glass nicely, but not too much.
What are we smelling?
Yeah. Well, unlike the Grenache, which didn't have any new oak at all, this has got a little bit of...
a little bit more of an oaky tone to it, doesn't it?
Influence of new oak. And that's going to lend itself to really developing some lovely cedar characteristics. If you've got the patience to mature it for 4 or 5 or 6 or maybe 10 years time.
That was going to be my question. How long would you lay it out for?
Oh, it's got the texture and the depth and the fruit and all the ingredients to put it down for 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Won't last that long.
There you
Nice
go.
Southern American, but...
But not too big. It's not a huge one as such. It's got some elegance to it.
That's actually kind of... But the look of it and the smell of it...
That threw me.
I was expecting a lot bigger wine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I
got some
expected it
elegance,
to grip straight away, and it just sat really easily, didn't it, on the palate?
Yeah, and...
I was expecting that really bold. No.
Again, it's about building up the wine. Some of the things we might do with Grenache, we do with a bit of Cabernet as well. We build it up rather than take it out. And
that was surprising. From the colour of it, you expect this real deep grip, and it just doesn't. Yeah. It's got the flavour through it, but it doesn't have the grip.
And that's a characteristic of all our wines, I hope, that they aren't... if you're looking for really big, heavy wines, you can go to anywhere in the Barossa, they'll produce you those really big, voluptuous, sweet fruit wines. The style that we're trying to produce is something with a bit of elegance, a bit of style, that will age well, and also is... able to be approached as a young wine.
Yeah. That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good to drink now, better to drink when they're laid
Exactly.
down.
Yeah, and if you do have the right strong properties,
You'd have to buy a few though. It's that good, you'd have to buy a few.
You would. And you'd want to try it in different stages, I think. It'd be one of those ones where you'd open it fresh and then you'd keep it for a little while and then you keep it for a little longer and try it in 3 different stages, and it would probably be completely different wines as you
So
go
you'd have to
through.
buy 6. Marketing would tell you to buy 12 because it's better than shit, but...
That's it.
Drink a couple now, save a few for a few years.
And then save a few more.
And you know what I always reckon is pretty cool? If you drink it with the same people. So if you've got
then
a
you've
guest
got
that comes
comparison.
around and pull it out a few years later,
Bring
if
it
your,
out
friends
to dinner
hang,
parties.
if your friends hang around that long.
That's right. That means you're going to behave yourself for a longer time too. So you don't lose that.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Easier said than done. So what would your pairing pick be with the this little number?
Ooh, I don't know.
Well, you got to go first.
We'll see again. I'm my cheeses.
Can you please put some effort in, because your last one was...
come on, all right.
Your last one was
I won't lowball it
Your
this
last
time.
one was poor.
Oh, look.
Not pear. We won't...
Well, we're not hitting the fruits with the reds.
No.
That's not my jam.
Okay,
So
come on, what are you
let's
gonna
move
go?
on to a little bit of cheese, I think. Maybe a little bit of pate, something like that, a little bit of flavour.
Okay.
So
So
you
you...
pick one, not all 3. Which one are you going to go?
I think we're going to hit the, let's do a little bit of blue cheese. How are you feeling about the blue?
I'd be saving that for the Shiraz, but
Oh,
no, you're
would you?
No, you're right.
Would you? Full flavour with the Shiraz? I just thought he's looking a little
What would you go for?
unused there.
What would I go for?
What would be your pick?
I reckon the Met West.
Think so?
Yeah.
Oh, you reckon a little bit of meat there, do you?
I would have another go at the pate.
Oh,
All right, let's go.
let's do
There's
it.
the 3 choices.
Each to their own?
Yep.
Now, would you prefer a biscuit or a piece of bread?
So if you get each other's, you just see yourself on what you choose, and then we can all say we all got
Done.
the best choice.
Done.
Yeah, true.
Well, I'm going to go with one of these, and I'm going to hit a little bit of the cheese and a little bit of the jelly.
What is the jelly? Do you reckon it's quince? Quince paste?
Paste.
I don't know. You didn't talk it up.
That's another thing that's great this year, quinces.
Is it?
Our quince tree at home is just full of these lovely round balls of yellow fruit hanging on the tree. It's just
Is it hard to make the paste?
we tend to
What do you do with them?
just dry them out and make the paste. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay.
Just dehydrate them.
We'll grab some when we're down the Coonawarra.
Quince jelly, just stewed quinces. Now, quinces roasted with a Sunday roast with a bit of lamb, and you get the quince and you roast it in with the potatoes and other things. It's just magnificent.
We know where to go Sunday night. We'll invite ourselves like we usually do, but yeah.
Yeah.
There'll only be 4 of us.
Did you want to leave that?
That's full of flavour. That.
Oh, you only
We're
served
gonna
yourself?
overpower. I did.
Right,
I
okay.
did.
No, don't worry about us.
Do you want me to be
Yeah,
off
no.
Hold on.
You can all take your pick.
It's getting a bit selfish.
And what was the choice? A bit of blue?
Now I've gone with a little bit of blue. Now this is probably overpowering the taste. I'd stick with more of the cheese than the little paste
You
here.
want some bit of paste as well?
Full
No
of
paste.
flavour, almost
Straight
too
cheese,
much.
I reckon.
Yeah. That one takes away from the actual
Yeah.
flavour of the wine, I think.
Which is a strong blue.
It is.
Is it?
I love my blue.
Oh. I'm looking forward to the wine.
See the quince
Oh.
paste there through the taste, but I think with a little bit more cheese that would have been nice. You're a meat fan?
It goes
You're going
well.
to hit the Matt West, aren't you?
It does give that creaminess in the palate, which sort of softens the tannins in the wines a bit. It really sort of ameliorates the palate.
Too strong.
But I'm a bit of you. I think it's,
strong?
that with an aged
Yeah.
wine might be a bit better.
I think so. You know what that would go really well with? Fortified.
Yes, fortified.
Something that could overpower that cheese is strong. I'm going to go. What was your choice? The pate?
My choice was a little bit of bread and pate, and it's just something.
Let's go. Let's go
Bit
there.
of
Shall I try?
potato.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's too much to choose on this platter.
Jade, do you want my fingers, okay?
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
gold.
I washed my hands yesterday, I'm sorry.
We're all serving each other, it's fine.
Thank you. Not only do you have to make the wine, you've also got to prepare the food for
No,
us.
that's fine.
you
It's
know.
just a hard life. But
Yeah, isn't it? This pate is so good, isn't it? And you reckon? I reckon this is going to be the perfect pairing.
It's a bit like the cheese. It's got that creamy type of texture to it, which sort of helps sort of
That
balance off
creamy
that.
tone really takes off that bite
Yeah.
at the end, doesn't it? Okay, good pairing. I like that one. Still takes away a little bit of the flavour of the wine. There's so much flavour in that pate.
Right, let's try the Metwurst. No biscuit, no nothing, just straight Metwurst.
Go with your original.
Yeah.
Go with your original
You
choice.
can sit it.
We'll go halves, all right?
I was
We
about to say halves.
we
Do you
don't need
wanna
the
go
whole.
halves?
No, we don't need the whole piece. There you go.
Oh, great, thank you.
Oh. Quality. Quality Metwurst. I already know it's going to be the best one.
I think you've got this.
I may have read Paul's tasting notes before I came, but
It goes with that slightly charry oak you get from the oak. You know,
Yeah,
there's a bit of a joke. And when they make
Cheers to
barrels,
that.
yeah,
Well done.
when they form the barrel, they use a heat to try and get the barrel to bend, and so that heat then, depending on the level of heat they use, can create a little bit of charriness inside the barrel. So that's then imparts
so there's a little bit of
imparts some
charred
character,
charcoal
yeah.
taste.
And depending on the cooper and so forth, that also caramelises some of the sugars that are in the oak, and that just imparts a bit more characteristic to the wine.
so what oak are we using for these?
These are French barrels.
Yeah.
It's from a
New barrels, old barrels?
it's about 20% new French barrels, and
Bit of a mid-range.
we're using this particular one was from a producer called Gadoo, and Gadoo is we found over the years it's been very well suited towards this particular wine that we're making. So it's a
So you're picking the barrel to suit the wine?
yeah, thinking barrels of the wine. So
That's
we
pretty cool.
There's so much that
We'd learn it like
Oh, I
that.
so
know.
we so we buy barrels sort of from various coopers each year. So, and there are quite a few different coopers, and each cooper has got different toasting techniques and different techniques. For example, one of our major suppliers, rather than solely using the fire to make the wood able to bend, they immerse it in hot water first, and that leaches out some of the really raw tannins from the oak, and then they fire out afterwards. Wow. So you end up with a very sort of subtle influence of oak, and we use that now on some varieties like sort of Chardonnay and so forth.
So, who are they? Give them a shout out.
That particular barrel is Dargle and Jagle. Is our one that we've used.
Where are they?
They're in Burgundy in France.
In France, yeah.
Oh, wow. So when it comes to pairing your barrels with your wines, things like that, how do you successfully pick a barrel that's going to bring out the best in the wine that you're choosing and things like that? So what's the process there?
Well, it's it involves two elements. One which I'm very good at, and that's procrastination and indecisiveness. But really, the reality is that when we buy barrels, we choose several wines, and we use a pair of barrels of every cooper that we buy in one particular batch of wine, and then we assess those as individual barrels over the 18 months or 24 months that the wine's maturing. Now, in doing that, we then handle those as individual barrels each time. So rather than actually, imagine that during the life of a wine, that a wine needs to be worked a couple of times to give a bit of roundness, a bit of oxygen into the wine to give it soften off the tannins and help evolve the wine. But and so you might have a batch of say 40 barrels of a batch. With our assessment, we'll handle all those as individual barrels, so it's a lot of work.
That sounds
talk about an index for those.
But then at the end of that period of time, then we'll start to say, well, look, this wine, this barrel, firstly, this barrel's good. Yes. And so we've got down to that stage now where all the barrels that we're using are very good coopers.
So you like that barrel? So, keep that one around.
So we don't have any duds, but we have. But then we're working towards that with each of our wines, that we have one or maybe two coopers that we're trying to direct it, so that it creates an individuality between the barrels and the wine as well.
And the actual wine that they're producing.
It helps sort of on the pedigree.
That is unbelievable. See, it's so technical once you get into it.
Yeah. Now, we're not quite there yet. We're still working towards it. But as I said, in 150 years' time, I know the answer.
It takes a lot of experience, but you get better and better by the year. Yeah. Fantastic.
What a cracking wine.
This is beautiful, and I'm sad to finish it, but I think we might have to move on to
we're gonna have to move on to McLaren Vale's finals.
Oh,
went down all right, didn't it?
Oh, it did.
Yeah, went down
almost
all right.
too easily, that one. Yep.
So we're gonna have to move on to. We're gonna move to top of the range.
I'm excited.
Top of the range Shiraz.
I'm excited for this one.
So we have a whole range of activities from smaller through to larger. We do things such as Vine Walk or the McLaren Vale Marathon, and then we do smaller ones such as having a Sunday Sounds with local music, band, having our food and platters, and maybe even a food truck to come in. So we have a few of those when the weather's good, then try and bring out a few more of those.
126-year-old. Well, they'd probably be older now, wouldn't they?
Well, they were planted in 1892.
Wow.
1892.
I believe that the original grower was a guy called Phillipson, and he planted it and then sold it to the Wrigley's, who ultimately bought Wira Wira.
Yeah?
Wira Wira. It passed through a couple of people, but Richard Hamilton's father, Burton, bought this vineyard in 1947.
So Burton Hamilton. Burton Hamilton, yeah.
So he bought the vineyard in 1947. So
look at that colour.
Oh my gosh, that's dark.
Yeah. So if you're looking at sort of history, this is part of our history now, or part of our carrying on the history that someone else started.
Yeah.
And we've been carrying it on for 70 odd years. Yeah.
We could cut it and you could work it out.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Look at the colour of that.
Centurion.
That is a very burgundy.
The block, is it on Mametri Road as well?
It's on Mametri Road as well.
Yeah.
So it's on the same acreage basically as what the Hut 11 Cabernet came from. These are very old, gnarly vines, which our vineyard manager Lee Harding and his crew.
We probably haven't done much of that. Tell us who's in your winemaking team?
Oh, our winemaking team?
Yeah, because you've taken all the glory yourself. So
no, I haven't taken all the glory
Who else is actually
Share the
helping?
love.
Oh no, our winemaking team is Greg Foster and myself.
Yeah.
So Greg's been winemaker with us since the end of 2018.
Righto.
Greg's had a lot of experience in various wineries.
He's a bit of a gun, isn't he?
He's fantastic. He's really great. And we form a good team. Now, Greg is the type of guy that dots all the I's all the way through.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a scatterbrain. I sort of think about things and dart in all different directions. So Greg's focused on getting things done, and so there's nothing ever missed. Greg ticks it all.
Attention to detail.
Yeah,
That's
and then absolutely passionate about his wines and so forth.
Yeah.
So I think we form a pretty good team. Yeah, that's Greg. But here in our vineyard is Lee Harding, Guy Hamilton, who is Richard's a nephew.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Deb, and the three of them sort of make up our vineyard team here. So they've looked after these vines and nurtured them. Being old vines, they're obviously resilient, but
They need some love still.
they
don't
need heaps of love and heaps of care, and they've reconstructed the vines and produced them so that now that it's largely on 2 different wires, and they've structured it so that the fruit hangs out nicely. It's not all clumped together. It's all hangs out, almost picture perfect the way it looks. But it doesn't then just lend itself solely to picking the whole block and then making the wine. We will go through, and it's all hand picked.
Yeah.
And we'll go through, and Lee will, in order to instruct the pickers where to start and stop for different fruit qualities, he'll paint sort of lines on the ground with marking paint, and so you pick this bit to here. Okay, and that goes into this trailer.
Oh, wow.
You pick this bit to here and it goes into this trailer, and we'll
So
handle
it's
those.
sectioned off. That's
Even though it's only
unbelievable.
even though it's a small vineyard, we just
So you don't realise the work that goes into it.
it's a lot goes into it. Okay?
So, what goes into
what are we
this
supposed
is
to
the
read?
top of the range.
Yeah.
This is what we think
This
is
is
our
the top of the
best
range.
quality wine. So,
Okay.
and if it's part of that vineyard which doesn't quite make the grade,
That smell of
then
that
we
is
don't include it.
So, colour.
How are we feeling on colour and smell? That colour is rich.
Yeah, it's dark.
That is rich. So I'm
Really,
expecting
really
we're going to do the napkin trick.
Yeah, I had to. Even though my
Please learn that
knives,
now. You're
knives
never
and
going
fork are
to,
on-
every
Well,
show
knives are
you're going to
good,
be
yeah.
doing the napkin trick now.
We've got a white table usually, so it's easy.
But it's good. It's deep and dark.
It
It's
smells
rich.
beautiful. It smells beautiful.
What are you smelling?
Rich. Not as much peppery as it is.
Any spice?
Little bit of spice, not as peppery. And then I haven't actually had a sip yet.
Very smooth.
Your face melted after
Oh,
that,
that's
so let's
so
give it a
good.
go.
This is fermented in vats. So we've got three oak vats, and they hold just a little bit of fruit each.
Oh, wow.
And they're just we actually pump those over rather than hand plunging. So we pump the fruit over in those vats, and
Wow.
just manage with as much hands-on work as we can. We also do a bit in probably 25% of it's done by our hands. So we actually hand plunge it in sort of 500 kilogram lots,
Wow.
just to get a bit of whole bunch characteristics in there, where you get a bit of the influence of stalks and a
Yeah.
few other things that are going to complement the wine and help build the structure of the
Change
wine.
that flavour. Yeah.
Again, we get a reasonable amount of new oak, and this is where we use some of those water bent Burgundian barrels
Yeah, okay.
to impart some oak character into these.
Okay, so
And
it's
also-
a little bit more of those
Yeah.
oaky type barrels. If people don't know
One-
what those are,
The
then
ones
they're
that don't
more-
impart a lot of oak character, but a lot of just subtle oak character.
Okay.
And then probably 12 months in those barrels, and then worked into older barrels. So it's got an influence in the
Okay,
oak.
so it transfers from that
In-
oaky barrel into an older barrel.
barrel,
So
yeah.
you're just enhancing that flavour as it
And
sits.
the other thing is they're trying to get that level of complexity. So you get a layer of complexity from older barrels you don't get from new oak.
Which you can taste in it anyway. It's almost got a couple of layers of flavour there.
My question
So-
for you is: do they make it every year, or if the
Is it
fruit,
not
if the
available
fruit,
every year?
if the fruit quality is
Yeah.
not up to?
We haven't missed a year,
That's a good vineyard.
So that's a
good vineyard.
That's a good vineyard.
but the amount that we release under Centurion would vary from year to year.
okay.
So
okay.
we're
So
expecting
depending on the quality of
a good year this year.
We're spending a good year this year.
2021, something to look forward to.
Oh,
So
magnificent.
with this little darling, you like your tastier. don't you? So you want a little bit more flavour when it comes to pairing.
Oh, yeah, I reckon.
Do you like that?
The
You want
blue,
your
the blue might
you
go
like your blue
okay.
here.
I reckon that my choice will be the chorizo.
Okay. Well, we haven't done the chorizo yet.
No, we've
Should
been
we
saving.
leave that a
We've
go?
been saving that. Yeah.
Sure.
We're just going to go straight to chorizo. We're going to try a little bit of blue. All right, we've got to try a bit of blue.
How about we
Do a
try
bit of
Oops.
How are you feeling? A biscuit and a bit of blue, and then a bit
Yeah,
of
maybe.
chorizo.
This
done,
chorizo is
sir.
from Ellis
Thank
Butchers
you.
too, so it's going to be top of the range.
All down south local, fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So what have you chosen?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a pretty simple guy. I really love my fresh bread. I know that
And you
bread
love
is just
your- you
lovely.
keep
I
going
reckon-
back to the fresh
I just
bread,
go back
don't
to the
you?
fresh bread. That's just so tasty, that bread.
Righto.
And,
Bread and butter.
oh, no butter.
Oh, no butter.
No butter, you don't
Just
need
dry, just dry bread.
Yeah.
Right, soaked in the Centurion. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Alrighty. So we're hitting the blue cheese.
The cheese is so nice, isn't it?
Still too strong.
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does soften the wine a lot,
It does, yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, that blue's too strong.
Maybe the cheddar instead?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
That sounds
cuts
like a
through,
great
doesn't
idea. I'm really hungry too, so I'm not going to say no to whatever you dish up. Actually, actually, I reckon this is really
Yeah,
good.
you're
call.
right. There's so much strength in that blue cheese that it almost takes away from the flavour within the wine. So, alrighty, let's try the cheddar.
Oh, 100 times better. Yep.
Because this wine's just a pup. You know, it's a very young wine. It's approachable now, but you've got to try and imagine this wine, for those who are really serious about wine and want to lay it down for a few years. And I can only imagine what it might look as an older one.
We probably haven't mentioned enough either, or probably not even at all. All of these wines we go through, all people have to do is comment, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, because it goes on there.
Exactly.
The perfect comment of a wine, for me, is no comment at all. In that people will try the wine and say, that's really nice, and not have to think about it. That it's got to be.
Yeah, but that's a good comment.
That it's got to be so
That's-
good.
that's a great comment.
That's got to be so
That's-
good that it doesn't require anyone to say, it smells like this or tastes like this, or
Putting
this or doesn't it?
my marketing hat on, I'm saying shut up because we want people to comment because that
They do, that's right, yeah.
that drives how much people see it. So,
No, but
yeah.
what I'm saying is that I see my job is to try and make something that is so good that it's just.
They lost
They
for
just-
comment.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, fair enough. You got pretty close.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't heard much from Jade since the Shiraz came out.
I've just down the chorizo to give it a go.
Right, eh? Bit of
Beautiful
spice.
selected meats, by the way. A little bit of spice, but let's see how it cuts with the wine. Okay, the peppery taste of the chorizo slightly takes away from the wine, but still a nice compliment. Still a nice compliment. I think the cheddar is probably the top-notch compliment with this one here.
You reckon?
I think so, because it doesn't take away too much from the flavour. I find there's a lot of pepper in that, maybe that chorizo in itself, so it sort of adds that little peppery overtone. But how are we feeling?
I like the meat for sure.
You're a meat man?
Yeah, I just
So is it now time for my choice?
yeah.
It is.
Right.
Take your pick. We're back to the bread.
We're back to the bread. Feel like a bit
Now,
like a
how do we do
seagull.
this?
Huh?
Oh, that's it.
Are we doing plain bread? Are we dipping it in anything?
No, we're just having plain bread.
We're not doing the, okay,
Plain bread.
plain bread.
Plain bread.
All right.
Not so much flavour.
I'll be chewing on it for 5 minutes. Right?
Bit dry, but yeah.
So we're
With the wine.
cleaning, we're cleaning the palate.
Yeah,
here.
we need some wines.
Isn't it nice?
I haven't
It's
finished
just
the
so
bread
simple.
yet.
We've had a bit of wine. It soaks into the bread, so it's not
I
quite
would,
chewy.
I would have to say that I'm backing your wife's a pretty good cook.
And me?
No, not so much. For a winemaker, you're not much of a
Okay,
chef, I don't reckon.
Right.
Too simple? No,
Okay, so the bread cleaned the palate
it does.
to get the full flavour of the wine. I'd say that was the benefit of that.
Yes, you are nice.
That's right.
You are nice.
It's food that allows you to appreciate the wine rather than necessarily
That's it.
compliment the two by
So you prefer something that doesn't take away from your wine. I can appreciate that.
Do you know what I reckon would go really well with this wine?
More meat.
Pate. Pate would go really well with this wine. Well, later. We'll finish it off later. What a superb wine.
Yeah.
That was stunning.
Okay? Yeah, it's good.
By the fire.
It's so youthful. You know?
Oh, yes.
By the fire.
Yeah.
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 Top of a mountain. Would be nice. Sunset.
Sunset
No, yes.
rather than sunrise.
Difficult to come down, but
Difficult to come down. Yeah. It's-
After a bottle.
At the bottom of the mountain coming down, it's not so bad. You can see where you're going.
all right. So I heard a little secret. There might be an actual special feature wine that's coming on next.
Sounds like we're getting one of the favourites.
Tell you what, it's going to be difficult to top that.
It is.
It could be.
It's difficult to chop some of these reds. So we'll see what's coming up next.
What have we got for the special?
But this is our 2005 Centurion. Okay, so it's now got 16 years old. Okay. This is the very last vintage that we did under cork. So the part of the evolution of wine in Australia is that cork developed a bit of a reputation for not necessarily always being the perfect closure, but very good corks age wines very well. So it became a bit of a reliability thing. Okay? There are a lot of people out there who would never have opened a cork bottle before. So,
Yeah, I'm going to lose half
Jade,
the cork in the bottle. Are you going to give me a red hot
I'm going to show you
go?
do it. So this is a
Don't show her, make her do it.
this is I'm not you're just going to do it.
Yeah, don't let
You're going to do
her
it.
show it.
Right, here we
So
go.
this is a corkscrew. They're very elements of a corkscrew. Okay?
Has it got
Show
Richard?
me the
Has it
ropes.
got Richard
So we
Hamilton
have the
written on
pocket
it?
knife on one side and the corkscrew on the other.
Yep. Firstly, there's a knife. Okay. The knife is for cutting the foil.
So we slice.
Jade, one corkscrew.
Why, thank you, sir.
You know what though? This is great education for people that.
No, pull it all out.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
it.
I thought it was.
Okay.
See,
And don't forget.
darling, here we
No,
go.
no. Were you left hand, right hand?
Now,
Put it
we this
behind,
way?
and put your finger behind us as a. And,
We're doing this way?
Yeah. And don't cut your finger. And turn the bottle rather than. And keep your pressure underneath the thing. You're almost there. You're getting a bit of a funny angle there, but you're trying to make it.
We're not going to go higher
Yeah,
up,
yes.
are we?
You know what we should have done?
we're
We
trying
should
to
have
get-
actually shot this scene first.
Trying to get underneath there. Okay. It should be nice and deep.
Right underneath. All right, here we go.
And it should now peel off, hopefully.
Okay, let's go this way.
Just put a bit of
This is
pressure on
better.
it. Need a bit of pressure.
Your serious face is funny.
Oh, I'm on it.
Your serious
I'm
face is funny.
determined
Yeah.
to get this right.
I'll probably go to.
Here we go.
You need to undo the first.
Oh, you actually
Take
take
the
off
top
the
off.
plastic?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a top bit.
Put it back up so people can see.
It's
it.
not plastic. It's a tin foil. Okay. So now you expose the cork.
Close enough.
No. Plastic's cheap, tin foil.
All right, now we're dead centre.
Put it back on there.
put a bit of
Oh,
info-
actually, you can't reach, can you?
I'm too short.
You can't
I'm
reach.
too short.
Okay. So put a bit
Ready?
of pressure just so that the.
Do you want to start it off for
Yeah.
me?
No, you go.
You can get the right
You put
angle.
it in-
Yeah,
Oh.
see, it's going to bend.
You might have to put it in for her.
Yeah, see? Start it off for me.
You got. That's it. It starts. There you go.
The
Fine.
key to it,
Now
turn-
you can turn the corkscrew
Now
right.
turn this corkscrew. Yeah.
Keep on going.
Straight.
That's it. Keep going now. More.
Could really done with that step ladder, couldn't you?
Okay. So these are really good.
I could have done with a crate.
So
A crate.
at the time,
A milk
these are-
crate.
That's enough. We'll stop. Okay. So now you want to then just check that you haven't gone too far by just bringing that down and
Okay.
seeing if that hits on there. So it does. So that's the first step.
Ah, So
So-
that's
so-
your
so it's
that's
two
your
stage.
little level to know that you've hit the right point.
Yep. Okay.
Beautiful.
Now you want to then push that in so that it hits the bottle, and then slowly lever it up. So you got to no, you're not too.
No.
And now we want to what? Lever
Hang
it
on.
up.
So
Push
you
it
wanna
in,
Push it in so it actually locks onto the
and
bottle.
then you've got to lift the handle up.
And then lift the handle up.
Here we go.
I'll hang onto the bottle for you.
All right, do that.
That's it.
Oh!
Not too far. Now you've got to keep
Oh.
it straight.
Here
You
we
keep
go.
that
We're almost
hooked on.
there.
And when you're halfway up, change your angle and get the next. Don't twist it.
Don't twist.
No.
Okay, so we don't twist
And
when
then
we're
it's got
pulling out a
another,
cork.
another level here, is there?
Okay.
Okay, so now it's got a bit more.
And then we do
There you go.
another.
That's it. And it's got to pull that straight in.
Ta-da.
Okay. Now with old wines, we often decanter wine. Okay.
Yes,
Now, the
we need
reason-
a little bit of an aeration.
That's right. It's a bit of aeration, but it's also an older wine may throw out a little bit of sediment. So this is wine education number two. When you looked at that very young Centurion, as lovely and bright and fresh in colours and lovely bright reds and so forth, as were the other wines too, as a wine matures, it absorbs a little bit of air. Okay, so especially with a cork, it absorbs some air, and the molecules that make up the colouring compound in wines, the anthocyanins, they
Do you know
absorb.
who he reminds me of?
They absorb.
Remember the
this-
guy from the Cadbury ad? He's just got that thing, hasn't he? The scientist.
It does.
That absorbs a bit of air, and those molecules then become larger. Okay, and as they become larger, they'll change from that really bright red colour to a slightly ochre colour. So when you try an
So
older
softer,
wine,
a little bit more brown infused.
you'll see a little bit more brown
oaky.
infused, yeah.
Okay.
over a period of time, if those compounds become large enough, they'll actually come out of solution and form a little bit of the sediment.
Okay, so that's where the sediment comes from.
So
Okay.
when we decant a wine, we're doing two things. One, we're giving it a bit of aeration, and secondly, we're just keeping an eye on there.
that.
And it's a bit of a sacrifice. Now, it's a
It
really
is.
this
It's
is
just
a
that
wine you've
little, that little bit in the bottom where you think,
this is
I
a wine you've
should have
aged for a
drunk that.
long time. You
Yes.
don't want to waste a drop because every drop is precious. Okay, but with an aged wine, well, maybe just a very last little bit we might just leave behind, and that's why the bottles.
Or we could just pour Jade that bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, give me the cheap drinks.
Well, it's not cheap, I'll tell you that much.
And that's another reason why wine bottles are shaped like that. If you look at this bottle, and if you get a normal sort of claret bottle, for example, they've got a high shoulder here.
Yeah, a
And
little
that
bit wider through the.
That allows
top.
the sediment to stay inside that part of the bottle.
Oh, so it catches the sediment as you're pouring.
Exactly.
Oh, method in the
Yeah.
madness.
So you can
I'm
just
not sure if we're on the SA Wine Weekly or the Curiosity Show, but either or, we're going all right.
Okay.
There you
So now, Jay, you're going to decant this, and what you want to do is you want to hold up like this
And pour it like a beer.
and pour it very slowly down the side. And in the same doing so, you want to look at the clarity of the wine going in there
Okay.
and here. And when you get down to about here, just call it quits.
The only problem though
Beautiful.
is the people won't be able to see it if she has to do that. Send any tippy toes. Yeah,
And
much
it is
better.
crate.
Much
Right,
better.
here we go.
Where's that
So we're
crate?
going to do a little bit of a.
And don't invert the bottle. Keep it going in the same way. Don't stop.
She's good at doing what she's told, isn't she?
Not sure.
You're not sure?
Keep
Too
going.
fast?
Don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going.
Too fast?
No, you're right. So what we're doing is, no, don't move it. Just pour it slowly and gently. It's a massage of a wine. Okay? You don't want to do this thing too quickly. Keep going.
How are we hitting?
Don't
Under
trigger.
this.
Keep going. Keep going. Look at the clarity. If it's still clear, you can keep going. Okay. And maybe just
Okay,
cool
around
bits
about
there.
there?
Yeah, about there. I reckon that's good. So what you've done now is you give the wine a bit of aeration. So as the wine sits in a bottle, it can get a little bit stale over a period of time. And you don't need to swirl it. You've really done your job. And probably if we were doing this
Look at the colour of that and the
at a dinner party or something, we might do this an hour in advance of serving it. But
An
Yeah,
hour?
let's-
An hour?
And give it that
Yeah,
little bit
so
of
it's-
aeration
yeah.
before
What-
not too
serving.
long. If it's
So-
a very old wine, not too long, because a
Okay.
very very wine, say wine that's maybe 30 or 40 years old, it can start to deteriorate very very fast. So you don't want to decant it too soon, but but enough times that it gives a bit of aeration and gets rid of the sediment. There's nothing worse than having a dinner party with a very old wine, and then the last person gets all the
Gets
the sediment at the bottom. Okay? Especially when you're pouring like this all the time, and so you're mixing it all up. So the wine's sat there, you've had it in your wine rack for 30 or 40 years. It's laid there, it's dropped its sediment out. The worst thing you can do is
Jade's
do
not even
this.
30 yet, so it's probably a bit difficult, but yeah.
You will be old enough to have a 30-year-old wine.
One.
Don't worry,
One.
it's
One would
happening
hope.
this
One
year.
would hope after this exercise. Okay. One thing that we do now is to make sure that this particular wine hasn't been influenced by the cork. So we get a little pour
Okay.
of a glass.
Okay.
And-
So you do your little tasting.
This is
glass.
like a silver service lesson,
It
really, isn't
really
it?
is.
It is.
Which actually, another
And-
useless but interesting fact, I
So
actually
just
have
pour a
a
little
silver
bit.
service certificate.
Do you really?
I do,
Very good.
I do.
So we're just pouring a little
Yeah.
touch for you.
Just
to
a little
taste.
bit to sample, yeah, to make sure it's okay. It's enough.
And seeing that you're familiar, you can taste first. And all you want to do is to smell it. You don't need to taste it.
Okay.
And
And
all you
so
do-
it should smell.
It should smell nice and fresh. It shouldn't smell like a wet bag. If it smells like a wet bag, then the cork is a real problem. If it smells...
Make sure you lie, because live. Make sure you lie, because we're on TV.
No, there we are.
She smells fresh.
Can I have a smell?
You're more than welcome to, as the connoisseur.
Another
You
thing we
can
do
make
is-
the final decision.
You know what people swirl the wines?
To see the grip of the glass, to see the colour,
Oh,
possibly.
It
And
also changes the surface area that's being exposed, so it allows the volatiles to come out.
to
And that's
blend
why
that flavour
a
together.
wine glass is shaped like that, so it actually concentrates the smells. So you've got a larger surface area here, and a smaller here, so it concentrates the smell. And that's magnificent.
How do you feel?
And that's what we tell. So when
Beautiful.
you see people looking at wine, at
There's
restaurants,
three of us here. Like,
Or you get your own glass. The wine's fine.
More than welcome.
And now seeing that you've passed your waitressing course, now you can serve the wine
yeah. Now pour us a drink, could you?
to the
Let's
to
do
the
it.
to the two customers.
Alrighty.
No, I'm not going to hold it for you.
Thank you very much. No. Pop it down.
So the thing about old wines is that it's part of the wine, but it's also you can look back at your own memories of that time as well. So this is what 2005, and you start to look back at what you were doing in 2005, what you're doing, who you're with, what type of fun you have, what bad times you may have had. But it's a means of recapping your memories over that period of time. In my mind that's part of the joy of older wines. So cheers. This is
Cheers.
this is
Thank you
great.
very much.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't have tried this
I
wine
had
if
a
it wasn't
lesson
you
there.
guys.
That was fun.
They wouldn't usually let you have this one?
No. Cheers.
Oh,
Okay, let's
Okay.
give it a whiff. How does it smell, Nathan?
So now we've seen a change of colour. It's still quite deep. There's no difference in the depth of colour, but you'll see on the edges it's lost those really bright red colours. It's
Yeah,
now,
it has.
it's got
Bring
some.
my napkin over to
Now it's got some ochres. Yes. See those sort of slightly ochre colours?
Okay.
Put down flat so you can sort of see it just as very soon, almost to the point
So
of
the way
tipping it
to
out.
do it.
don't tip any out.
Essentially,
And all you're doing is looking at the very edge. You don't need to turn it. Just look at.
So it's this edge here,
Yeah,
and then this burgundy
that's
tone
right,
is
yeah.
walking along
Get an
the
idea of the
cusp
colour,
of the wine.
So a wine that ages very well, that colour still remains sort of nice and red over a long period of time. So that's
Yeah,
got
so
some
there's
nice.
no brown tinge.
Not a huge amount of brown tints there, but a very old wine will
Don't,
become
mate, what are you
brown.
doing? Smell it. They don't
Wow,
really have
that
this very
smells
often.
strong.
I'll take it home later and
Yeah, right,
bring it out.
drain it, yeah.
Yeah. That
Ah,
smells.
come on, cheers.
Whew.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
So now you're getting some secondary characters. So not just the pure fruit of the wine and the oak and the other influence. You're looking at other secondary characteristics, some bit of cedary type of things coming through,
Oh my gosh.
and also a softening of the tannins. Got that roundness and richness. And that's the joy of having older wines that you put down for a long time.
Well, they've got to be put down correctly too, don't they?
They do.
That's the key to it.
Yep.
That is smooth.
Can you buy it? Can the punters buy this?
Can they
We
get
got
a bottle of
very
this?
little stock of
or-
this.
Very little stock.
Okay.
They can win it though. Well, they should. May
They
not
should be
be
able to.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go.
But,
How many bottles are available?
So when you talk about sort of buying wines to age, now you're talking about whether you buy 6 or 12. I think you need, if you're going to buy a wine of this type of quality, you need to buy at least 3. Now, one that you take
Yeah.
home and you
Keep-
can't.
again, one that you store and
Stop.
then one that you drink
Marking
later.
and shaking their head. They say no. It's 6 or 12.
Yeah, well, 6 or
No, you
12.
can't
Well,
have 3.
this is
No,
a-
There's
no,
no
no,
such thing
you
as
buy
3.
a dozen.
This is a very minimum.
Yeah.
So one that you try and think, oh, you can't wait to see if it's like, oh, this is really good. One that you try in
Wow.
5 years' time and think it's really good. This is going to last forever. And one you lay down until you're far too old and you forget about it. And that's why.
yeah.
And that's why you buy it in 6 or 12s, because then
That's it.
you've got a
yeah,
couple
because
of
then
mid
you've got a
steps there.
selection to drink throughout the centuries.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But it's part of it. It's part of the memory of having tried a wine when it's young.
Yeah. How lucky are you? Really.
It's good.
This is an exquisite wine.
It really is.
Then this might go with your blue cheese.
Right. Let's try it because that's a
Wow.
really good
How do you
comparison.
feel about the the strong cheese with this
I'm
one?
not a real fan of blue cheese as it is, but I'm willing to
Oh,
give
so
it a
that's
go.
why you buy this.
Huh?
Personally, I think blue cheese goes real well with a really sweet wine like a port. And that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Oh,
fortified,
so
yeah.
you like the opposite. Okay.
Yes, it's going to be in my top 3 ever.
This is part of the loveness of wine and the way that people talk about drinking wine in moderation, which we sure do. It's, we realise we are drinking an alcoholic beverage and we
So
shouldn't
is
drink
you
too
about
much
to
of it.
disagree in wine and moderation?
You probably
or-
talk to Jade because
But you can imagine this in a lovely round glass. You can spend half the meal just smithing this wine,
You can.
and you can just smell it, and it's just
Half the flavour
and
in
it's,
it is
and it's
actually
just
a part
oh, the stories you could tell.
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
the smell of the wine's good, and and over a period of time you sip it away, and it's good, and it's.
Whoop. I would be able to tell some great stories. They'll get embellished a little bit over this wine, but
So, Dave, what were you doing in 2005?
what was I doing in 2000? I was trying to think. 2005. Yeah, I reckon I was an oxygen therapist. working for the Department of Defence and Department of Veteran Affairs, doing all the oxygen equipment for the diggers.
Oh.
So yeah, I was, and I worked palliative care and neonatal.
Oh, what a good job.
It's actually a horrible job.
No, it's detrimental on you, but it's nice to do for society.
Yeah, I was good at it.
It's
I
nice
was,
to
I was
do for
really good at it.
society.
And
It takes a toll on your mental health.
I don't know, it can't get much worse. But
Oh, I would.
no, I just
Sad every day.
I didn't realise because you just did it, and I was on 24/7 call because
Yeah.
I was the only one who could fix the machines. But yeah, it was.
Well,
Yeah, brings me back to a time where I didn't have such an enjoyable job. I can tell you that much. I must say one thing: I'd just come through the best period of my life.
Yeah.
2001, 2002, 2003, triple premiership for Brisbane.
Oh,
yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah, just any chance I can, I'm going to bring that up. But. All right, so we're going to try this cheese with this exquisite wine.
It's beautiful. There's a lot of flavour through it, and I'm about to have a little sip to compare. Okay. Look, to be honest, Nathan, I think your pairing's a little bit more spot on than mine today. That blue cheese and that last blend were probably my favourite blend. I like the two together. How are you feeling about it? Still taking away the flavour a little bit from the wine because the blue cheese is quite strong.
Yeah, it's still too strong for me.
How do you feel about the cheddar?
I haven't gone the cheddar, but what have we got here?
Well, we do have a little bit of, we've got the walnut
yes.
blend there as well.
that's Panaforte.
More of a nutty,
Yeah.
What is it?
yeah?
Panaforte?
Panaforte.
Panaforte.
Not pianoforte, but
Piano.
Panaforte.
Panaforte. Italian. Oh,
Oh, that's good.
your eyes lit up there.
That is good.
it still makes good music.
Try some.
All right.
I'd
That's
go as
the
far.
winner.
I
Do you
would go
believe?
to as far as say that's probably the best pairing for the day.
So the mixture of this is
Yeah.
nuts and,
There's fruit in it too.
Okay.
And chocolate.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's dried fruit and nuts and a bit of flour.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
No chocolate.
Not that I know of. It may
It
well
looks
be.
like there's
Must have been
chocolate in
come
it,
through
but
in the
maybe
wine.
not.
Oh, that's good.
That's. So hopefully, if people can try a few of these wines down the track, older and they're still looking as good as this, then I think I've probably achieved my job, achieved my aim of laying down a legacy for the future.
Mate, you've done exceptionally well.
You've done
Thank you.
amazing. Everything we've tried today has been top notch.
It's just been
This is a class above, though.
This,
This is a class
yeah.
above.
But it's such a privilege to be a winemaker for a company with so much heritage. You know,
Yeah.
There are a whole lot of new companies out there who are about to start their heritage.
Yeah.
And here, you know, I've been lucky enough to actually work with a company who's got the heritage
You
and
know-
the pedigree, and to help carry that on. It's such a joy.
The passion is shining through, though, that you have for the company and the history.
Exactly. You've got the enthusiasm in it, you love it to your core.
Ah, thank you.
So that means a lot.
So I'm actually really looking forward to travelling down to the Coonawarra to meet you down there.
That'd be fantastic.
Exactly.
And,
we'll be up there in the
hopefully
next
you won't-
month or so.
You won't forget your hat.
Oh, don't forget the hat.
We'll be there. We'll be there Sunday night for a roast with some quints.
We will.
We will. And cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.